It is happening. Paramount and Rob Bonta are expected to meet to talk over a settlement over the Warner Bros. Merger, and it is happening today. Welcome back to TWIF, This Week in Film, where I break down and discuss the past week's news stories, giving my commentary, my opinions, my thoughts, and giving you the space to comment too. So, Paramount are expected to meet today, Monday, with the California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, and his office to discuss a potential settlement over this Warner Bros. Merger. This was quite a surprise to me for it to come so soon. At least I didn't expect it to happen as soon as Monday, 24th, which is today. Rob Bonta said that he's open to settlement negotiations, but he's also notified that Paramount have been unwilling to offer the kind of structural remedies that would be satisfactory. Paramount have pledged various commitments to get this deal done, including 30 films a year over the next 3 years and keeping them exclusively in theatres for at least 45 days. However, Rob Bonta has argued that such behavioural remedies and promises have been proven near impossible to enforce in the past. And I've seen how much David Ellison has been pushing this 30 films a year trope. And I don't know, personally, it just feels like the more something is repeated, the less likely it's going to happen. Almost like you're trying too hard to convince us of something that you don't think you can uphold. But maybe that's just me being pessimistic. I'm not too touchy about there being 30 films a year, but it's the overpromising that's making me skeptical. Now, in the lead up to this settlement talk bombshell news, we've had several people and key players oppose and support settlement talks. One key voice that I didn't expect to come out with their stance is Cinema United. Since the very beginning of us even hearing from Cinema United on this merger, they have been staunchly against it happening. In fact, I would actually argue they have been one of the most vocal players in this whole merger fiasco that has voiced the fact that they are against this merger. So you can imagine my surprise when they came out recently to somewhat backtrack on their stance and have called for Paramount and Rob Bonta to meet in the immediate future and discuss all possible avenues for resolving the lawsuit, which is quite the switch up of what we've been hearing from them. In a formal statement, they said, "Today, our industry has the wind at its back. Studio partners are creating and distributing extraordinary films. Audiences across generations are responding with enthusiasm, but none of that can be taken for granted. Global Exhibition believes in a bold future for this industry, but reaching our full potential requires working together." To me, that statement is so vague, but basically what they're saying is that the global box office successes that we've been seeing this year could slow down due to the rift that's happening as the merger is being held up. So either they've come to the realization that there's a trickle-down effect as a result of the hold-up of this merger, or they've been paid off. Because I have no idea where this stance came from them, especially as they have been one of the loudest voices to vehemently be against this merger. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has thrown her support behind the settlement, saying, "While there are varying perspectives on the proposed transaction, today we are united around one clear message. It is time for all parties to come to the table. The continued uncertainty is not good for workers, not good for productions, and not good for the future of this industry. Too many productions in LA are now at a standstill, which means Angelenos are out of a job and they're not getting paid." And I completely sympathize with this rationale. The merger delay does produce a lot of uncertainty, especially to those whose jobs will likely be most affected. You want to know how to plan your life, and with this merger hanging over your head, you don't really feel at peace. So for that reason, I see the benefit in speeding up the settlement of this case. Interestingly, Nithya Raman, who is the Los Angeles mayoral candidate and therefore Karen Bass's rival candidate in the upcoming 2026 elections, doubles down on her position that the Paramount Warner Bros. Merger should be decided in court. In supporting the antitrust case against Paramount, she states, "Los Angeles film industry is already in crisis. The Paramount Warner Bros. Discovery merger would deepen it, costing an estimated 4,500 film and television jobs, more than 10,000 jobs region-wide, and billions of dollars in economic activity, according to a new county report. This is a bad deal for entertainment workers and a bad deal for Los Angeles. That's why I support Attorney General Rob Bonta's antitrust lawsuit and stand with the workers fighting this merger. I'm sure this case of the merger will come up during their campaigns in ode to support workers, their jobs and the economy. Mark Ruffalo. Now, we know how vocal Mark Ruffalo is against the Paramount Warner Bros merger. In fact, we could go ahead and confidently say he's probably been the most outspoken actor amongst this merger chaos. He has lashed out at Larry Ellison, the Oracle founder and the father of Paramount CEO David Ellison, saying, Larry Ellison will own most of Paramount Warner Bros. Larry is a classic oligarch. They are crushing workers and consolidating the wealth of the world for their own power and concentrated dominance. We have a chance to stop this. There are 12 state attorneys general suing to block this merger. It will be catastrophic for our film industry. Within his Instagram post, he also posted a video of Safra Katz, who happens to be an Oracle senior executive and sits on the board of Paramount Skydance, and therefore she has a very close working relationship with both Larry and David. This video apparently showed the really profoundly scary technologies that they have been providing to Israel. Mark Ruffalo's strong and open stance in support of Palestine led him to respond to this video, saying, these really profoundly scary technologies will most likely be merged into one of the largest media conglomerates in the world and one day used on you. Look how she revels in what we now have come to see as a genocide, which was built on an apartheid system of oppression powered by Oracle. Now, Paramount responded quickly to these accusations, saying they are troubled when anti-Semitic tropes are invoked in perverted service of a business dispute. Now, in reference to Mark Ruffalo's uses of the term genocide and apartheid, Paramount continued to respond, saying these were a bridge too far and cheapen the very real suffering those words are meant to describe. Paramount then concluded their comments by saying, to be clear, we don't tolerate prejudice of any kind against anyone. Mark Ruffalo has since responded to Paramount's rebuttal, saying, the accusation that I am anti-Semitic is appalling and fundamentally dishonest. Criticizing the actions of the Israeli Prime Minister, a military technology contract, or the executives who supply it is not the same as criticizing Jewish people. This critical and necessary dialogue is then dishonestly framed as being anti-Israel. To be clear, my views come from my own political convictions and should never be interpreted as hostility toward Jewish people, for whom I have deep love and respect. I personally never took anything Mark Ruffalo said as anti-Semitic, and I agree with him when he says that criticizing someone's actions is not a criticism of the group as a whole. Clearly, Mark struck a nerve with the Ellisons with his comments and posts, and we already know this is not going to be the last we'll hear from him. And I'm here for it. Last story, National Treasure 3 is confirmed. If you are familiar with this film, you know that this film stars Nicolas Cage. And I'm happy we're getting another installment of this film. The first two are really good. I did really enjoy the first two, and I look forward to see what this one will bring. John Turteltaub, the director of National Treasure, says, it's finally real. Now it's Hollywood real, meaning things can happen. Nick gets hit by a bus, there's no National Treasure. If I get hit by a bus, there's probably a National Treasure. Welcome to Hollywood. That's Hollywood. We haven't got any indication of a release date, but it will certainly be on my radar. That's all we have for TWIF this week in film. I can't wait to get back to you on the outcome of these settlement talks between Paramount and Rob Bonta. This is actually a real pivotal moment for this merger, because if a settlement is agreed between Rob Bonta and Paramount, then there will be no need for a trial in March, and actually this merger could see itself close by the end of September. Watch this space. Tell me your thoughts on how you think the outcome of these settlement talks will turn out, and I'll see you in the comments.